Hi, everyone. It's the Plant-Based Business Hour. I'm Elysabeth Alfano, live from Dubai. COP28. This is day 6, and there's lots to report. Hopefully, at the end of this session today, I will take you on a little tour outside where it is very, very hot, but it is picturesque to see the palm trees and the sort of city that is created here. It is inspirational, mind-boggling, and slightly odd all at the same time. But today I'll talk about some of the learning from yesterday as we wrapped up, and then what happened today as well. Today, of course, still in progress. So yesterday, some of the great learnings for me came out of a FAIR, Farm Animal Investment Risk and Return panel, talking about their climate risk tool. Also the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, talking about their tool for the true cost of food and how to really assess that, taking into account the expenses of water and land and pollution and other things, these externalities that up until now have not been priced into the actual cost of food, rendering it subsidized and really not reflecting its true cost. And therefore, it's very hard to have a balanced system when the taxpayer basically pays a lot of the costs coming out of the manufacturing of that food. So you're not able to really see from an economic standpoint the true inefficiencies of the system if you're not truly pricing it out. If you don't know the data, you can't really understand the situation. And so that's what we have here. Perhaps, and I can't believe I didn't open with this, the most important thing coming out of COP so far is that 136 countries have signed on to the UAE's declaration that food systems must be a part of climate change, and that we cannot ignore food systems if we are to address climate change. So now the how of executing is always the tricky thing as we move forward. But I'll say, compared to last year's COP, which was in Egypt, I feel that this COP Food and Agricultural Organization, talking about their true cost of food tools. So people here are talking about, okay, who's going to be in the room? Who's going to be the engineer, the architect to really develop a sustainable food system? So at least those conversations are taking place. For me, the highlight of today was another FAIR event, this one offsite from COP, which is enormous. True madness, true madness. Intimate affair with economists talking about how we go to the next level for food systems, and indeed how investors can make food systems part of the climate solution. So that was very interesting to hear everyone talk about the power of farmers. So of course, everyone here, specifically yesterday at a World Economic Forum, talking about how we don't want farmers to not be part of the equation. Perhaps a better way to say it is farmers have the power. They are the only ones that are working with a system that currently sequesters carbon, and they are going to be paid handsomely. This is an economist's point of view, paid handsomely for that position, which amen to that. So there's a lot of perhaps transition of wealth going to farmers and their position of power. Very interesting. The concept of blended finance, so private markets and governments working together, governments really funneling, hopefully through policy, monies to go into R&D, so that when the private sector decides to spend their own capital on building out infrastructure, it's because they have a solution through blended finance of having risk mitigated by government spending already on R&D, so they know where they're going. Also, another really great, I'm going to have this economist on the Plant-Based Business Hour and my New York Stock Exchange podcast, Upside and Impact, talking about how it's too overwhelming to think about shifting the entire global food supply system. So we'll start with things like eggs and milk, and you'll see non-dairy eggs and milk used in birthday cakes everywhere, and croissant and muffin, and you won't even know it. The consumer won't even know that they've already switched over to sustainable food systems transformation. And when you take things, inputs like egg whites, and you change that, you start to really develop a market at scale. Once you have a market at scale, you start to bring down the price. You do that with egg whites, you start to do it with other things, and people start to see the economic benefit to this as systems change. And that was a big part of the conversation at this fair, intimate gathering this morning that was offsite, that really this is an investor's dream if they can spend enough time with the data to see it that way, that there's a lot of money to be made and wealth creation to be made. And a great quote from Jeremy Collar is, "We don't want to spend time telling people to be woke. We want to show them how not to be broke." Wall Street, that must resonate with you. So it was really a very good morning, and I'm sure, in fact, let me quickly look at my notes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I tried to do everything from memory, everyone, but that's not always possible. There was concern that food systems have tried to be reinvigorated before and have failed, but hasn't been the pressure from the climate, food insecurity already, according to the USDA, in a country as wealthy as the United States. Food insecurity 2022 over 2021 rose 25%, going from 10.2 million people to 12.8 million people, almost 13 million people food insecure in the United States. So you can imagine what it is in other countries around the world. There were quotes from this morning's meeting that the food system currently isn't fit for purpose. And we've talked about that a lot on the Plant-Based Business Hour and Upside and Impact, that it just can't get the job done anymore. It might have served us well 50 years ago, but now there are more people on the planet and less natural resources. So we're going to have to manage those natural resources better. Again, quoting an economist, Dr. Thomas Hohn Spar. I don't want to even mention his last name because I'm getting it wrong. He will be on the Plant-Based Business Hour, saying, the current food system is an inefficient nightmare, and that as an economist, it makes his stomach turn. It's just not what he wants to see. So it's been a very important morning as we talked about, this was interesting, talking about how really carbon offsets, the UN has said this, don't do their job. All they do is kind of reward bad behavior, let one company get away with bad behavior, but really that the markets should handle carbon offsets. So rather than sell that carbon offset to get some cash, work that carbon offset into your product so that it is priced less and you have a better margin there, if that's making sense. So you're rewarded through the product itself, and that carbon offset is worked into the product itself, and then the markets pay you through buying your product, and your extra reward for better margins comes there. So it's very interesting this morning. Now, this afternoon, I decided not to go to the blue zone or the green zone, where I did walk around the green zone at COP yesterday, and it is its own World's Fair. There are basically 5 COPs going on. There's the blue zone, there's the green zone, there's the climate action zone where I am right now. There's the investor COP happening in 2 days. And then there's the mobility hub. So there's many things going on. Today, I am off site from COP, and I am at the climate action zone, climate action pavilion. It's going to be hard to contain my disappointment here. Climate Action is what they call themselves, and their lunch was beef, shrimp, cheese, salmon, and I believe it was lamb. No vegan options, but many things were mislabeled vegan, like camel's milk pudding. So it's very hard, and hence the greenwashing terms that have been used to describe COP. It's very hard to go to a climate action summit where the action is to serve beef and then be taken seriously. So I am not impressed with the climate action zone, but I have been impressed with other parts of COP. And I'm looking forward to returning to COP tomorrow in the blue zone, where I'll be speaking about how public markets are driving capital to food systems transformation. I'll be joined by Sophia Condez from FAIR, Glenn Hurwitz from Mighty Earth, Glenn doing great work here at COP, and hopefully Amy Christensen, if her schedule allows, from Christensen Global, and myself with Sylvain Rolls from the United Nations PRI, Responsible Investing Organization. So very happy to have all of them with me tomorrow at 10 a.m. B7 Building 89 in the blue zone, and I will either go live from the blue zone or the green zone tomorrow. You will find me there. Until then, well, I did promise you a little tour. Let's see if I can give you a tour. Hold on. Okay. Let's see if I can give you a little tour. I feel that I owe it to you to show you some palm trees. So let's see what I can give you. Hold on. Putting on my sunglasses. We're going outside. Still mad about lunch. Really mad. Okay. Outside. Extremely hot, but it is very beautiful. And there is something to it's quite manufactured, but it is indeed very beautiful. So let's see if you can see some of the palm trees and the action, much more wider zone. Some of the buildings behind me. And I'll even take you, I'm going in the sun for you. I hope you appreciate this because we're in the sun. I'm walking losing my Wi-Fi, but so you can see, you can hear the birds now. Let me see if I can show you the iconic hotel is in the distance, and then I'll get out of the sun. Can you see that? Yes, you can. I have done my duty. Okay, everyone, I will see you live from COP tomorrow in Dubai.